5G networks are the next generation of mobile networks, and they promise to offer faster speeds, lower latency, and more reliable connections than their predecessor, 4G networks. These improvements are made possible by a number of technical innovations, including the use of higher frequency spectrum, beamforming, and massive MIMO, multiple input, multiple output technologies. One of the main advantages of 5G networks is their increased speed. 5G networks can offer peak speeds of up to 20 Gbps, which is significantly faster than the peak speeds of 4G networks, which are around 1 Gbps. This means that 5G networks can download large files, such as high-definition movies, in a matter of seconds rather than minutes. Additionally, 5G networks also offer an improved user experience for applications that are sensitive to network latency, such as online gaming and virtual reality, as they have lower latency than 4G networks. Another advantage of 5G networks is their increased capacity. 5G networks use a wider range of frequency spectrum than 4G networks, including millimeter wave spectrum, which can support a larger number of devices and users. This is especially important as the number of devices connected to mobile networks continues to grow rapidly. Additionally, 5G networks also use beamforming and massive MIMO technologies, which can improve the quality of service for users by focusing the radio signals on specific devices and minimizing interference. 5G networks can also enable new use cases and services that were not possible on 4G networks. For example, 5G networks can support the low-latency communication requirements of industrial automation, such as robots and drones, which can help to improve efficiency and reduce costs in these sectors. Additionally, 5G networks can also support the high bandwidth requirements of virtual and augmented reality applications, which can enable new entertainment and education experiences. However, 5G networks also have their downsides. One of the main downsides is the cost of deployment. The cost of deploying 5G networks can be high, due to the need to install new infrastructure, such as base stations and cell towers, as well as the cost of upgrading existing equipment. Additionally, the cost of purchasing 5G-enabled devices can also be high, which may limit the number of users that can afford to upgrade to 5G networks. Another downside of 5G networks is their limited coverage. Due to the high-frequency spectrum used by 5G networks, the signals can have difficulty penetrating walls and other obstacles, which can limit their coverage in buildings and other enclosed spaces. Additionally, 5G networks also have a limited range, which can make it difficult to provide coverage in rural and remote areas. A potential downside of 5G networks that has been the subject of some debate is the potential health effects of the higher frequency radio waves used by 5G networks. 5G networks use a different range of frequency spectrum than previous generations of mobile networks, including millimeter wave spectrum, which operates at frequencies between 30 GHz and 300 GHz. The concern is that these high-frequency radio waves may have negative effects on human health, such as an increased risk of cancer. It's worth noting that while some studies have suggested a potential link between long-term exposure to radio frequency radiation and cancer, the evidence is not yet strong enough to establish a causal relationship. The World Health Organization, WHO, states that the available evidence does not indicate any adverse health effects from exposure to radio frequency fields below the limits recommended in the International Commission on Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection, ICNIRP, guidelines. In addition, 5G networks also have security and privacy concerns. As 5G networks are built to support the growing Internet of Things, IoT, security and privacy concerns are at a higher risk since the increased number of devices connected to the network and more data being transmitted can lead to more opportunities for cyber attacks. Furthermore, 5G networks also rely heavily on software, which can introduce new vulnerabilities that could be exploited by attackers. In conclusion, 5G networks offer many advantages over 4G networks, including faster speeds, lower latency, and more capacity. They also enable new use cases and services that were not possible on 4G networks. However, the cost of deployment, limited coverage, and security and privacy concerns are important downsides that should be considered. It is important for the society and the industries to weigh in the pros and cons before implementing 5G networks, so they can make well-informed decisions that will benefit their goals and at the same time secure the overall well-being of the general public.